Questions arise of how the trial and the evidence were handled. Questions like, was it fair? What about the victim, Meredith Kircher? Have we all forgotten about what happened to that exchange student back in 2007? Because obviously the attention has been focused on those defendants. So joining me now is attorney Kristan Peters-Hamlin to try to answer some of those questions. Good to see you, Kristan. Thanks for coming on the program. Appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Let's talk a little bit about the difference with the appellate system as it goes in Italy for a murder case and how it goes here in the United States, because it's very different, and that's one of the reasons she got off, really, right?
That's correct. There's a special court for murder cases called Corte d'Assise in Italy, and you have, in the courts of first instance, you have 6 non-professional judges and you have 2 professional judges. You have the same system on appeal. You have 2 professional judges, 6 non-professional judges. And once you establish that there's some error, you get de novo review in Italy. So it's really a much better chance at getting the trial overturned in Italy than here. In the United States, errors can be made in a trial. That doesn't necessarily mean that the appellate court gets to overturn it. There's a high standard, which is what? It has to be kind of more egregious in nature? Yes. Most errors are considered harmless error in American law. So, you know, the finding of fact is extremely difficult to overturn at the appellate level because a jury of 12 peers has made those findings. So the findings of law are held to a much lower standard, but here all of the findings of fact were revisited by the appellate court. And when you have an appeal in the United States, do you just adjudicate that issue on appeal, or do you get to open up the entire case again like they did in Italy? Only the issues that have been raised on appeal can be re-adjudicated. If you make arguments regarding certain errors, those errors would be reviewed on appeal. But as I said, the review for factual findings is very, very difficult here at the appellate level. For legal findings, the appellate court has much more room. Talk a little bit about the DNA evidence and why that was so important the second time around. Well, I hate to say this about the Italian system because I've lived in Italy and am very fond of the country, but the forensic evidence in this case was handled incredibly incompetently. There was 0 findings of DNA evidence in the room where Miranda Kircher was killed, for Sollecito, the boyfriend, and for Amanda Knox. In contrast, an individual named Rudy Guende had his DNA evidence inside the body, outside the body, bloody fingerprints all over the room. It's absolutely impossible from a forensic standpoint for there to be if there was in fact this sexual satanical cult that the attorney Mignini, the prosecutor, had alleged. It would be impossible for there would be no DNA evidence in the room of Sollecito and Knox, but plenty of DNA evidence for Rudy Guende. It just boggles the mind. I mean, it seems like legal experts are just scratching their heads. They can't figure it out. What do you make of it? Is it a situation maybe the prosecutor came to the conclusion that these 2 people must have did it and he wasn't going to hear anything else and he was just going to keep moving forward, and now we're learning that he's going to appeal to the Supreme Court in Italy or whatever the equal court is? Well, I think that there are a couple of issues here. Number one, the police delayed 46 days in collecting the DNA evidence, which is just outrageous. The Interpol, which has some international forensic standards, identified a number of violations, and there were 54 violations of forensic standards in terms of contamination. And then this prosecutor, Mignini, had been involved in a similar case in terms of his theory called Il Mostro in Florence, in which he also alleged that there was a satanic sexual cult. And in that case, he was involved in illegal evidence gathering and has been criminally prosecuted for that in Italy and convicted. So he's actually handled this appeal as a convicted criminal. Now, under the Italian system, you're not considered guilty until you've gone through all the appellate levels. So, it's a wonder but in our country, he would never be permitted to prosecute a case when he's been convicted of a crime. Kristan Peters-Hamlin, good to talk to you. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.